So welcome you all to the Cloud Native Fast Forward meetup. I have the pleasure to open up the meetup and to tell you a bit about Dynatrace. But first, the usual housekeeping. I'm not sure what's the operating system of this building, but it's super smart and you shouldn't open Windows or it crashes. You should have by now returned the white cards you got at the reception. I hope this was not too much of a hassle since we mixed up the floors. If you need to go down for any reason, ask me because you would not be able to come up again. The toilets are here on the right and then right to the left side. I will take some photos. If anybody does not want to be in the picture, please just tell me and I'll erase you magically. And apart from that, you know how this works. Have fun. Enjoy the food I'll prepare afterwards. And as I said, a few words about Dynatrace. We are an all-in-one observability solution. We should be the tool that tells you what's wrong with your system, whether it's on-prem, whether it's in the cloud, or something in between. We've been founded in 25 in Linz. By now we spread all over the world and have, the numbers are already outdated, way over 4,000 people. And I think, I don't know how many are in R&D, but it's, again, already bigger than this. We're a relatively international team, which we are very proud of. And of course, we are hiring. So if you're looking for a job in a cloud-native company or that supports companies that build on cloud-native tools, that's the place to go to. And without further ado, I'll hand over to Malte.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, and thanks a lot for having us. We've been here a lot of times, so thanks a lot for that. Let me just prepare a sec. Yeah. Great to have all of you here. It really warms my heart to see all of you. And I thought I'll wrap it up. I'll do a small wrap up because it's the last time that I'll do it. It will still exist, thank God. There's a NGO that will take it over. Thanks a lot for that. And yeah, what have I learned, or what have all of us learned, I guess, in the last 18 years, something like that. Oh yeah, 18 years, it's written there. And it's a trip down the memory lane. Okay, some of you know this scheme and how this looks like. The basic slides are from Dan Cohen, who unfortunately died. I think most of you know him. Some of you also met him. Was a great guy. It was a pleasure to talk to him every time I had the opportunity to. And I updated it a bit and put in more things and more stuff. And now we have 50 slides in 15 minutes. I think it will take a bit longer. Sorry for that. So Linux Foundation is way more than Linux. We have the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, of course. PyTorch, I guess something that today is in the minds of more people than it has been some years ago. Then, of course, the little Linux guy. Then RISC-V. I don't know if some of you use it. So way bigger than just Linux. And let's go down the history of all of Cloud Native, right? So we had Sun. I don't know who used Sun, by the way, of you. Anyone had the chance? Nice. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. Oh no, I meant okay, let me. Yes, thank you. I want to say that Solaris. Sorry, I wanted to say Solaris. One hand, 2, 3. Yes, 4. Nice. So then we got virtualization by VMware. We got AWS and AWS 2006. So one question: what do you think was the first service that AWS offered? S3. Who said S3? S3. S3 was the first service they offered. And it was interesting. I was working for a small Viennese company that was working way back then on the first, worldwide first online gaming streaming service. 5 years before Twitch, by the way. Funny story, it got canceled because the people that funded the development thought that having shareware was the same as having pirated software. So they shut it down because of a word. Nice. Anyways, we have Twitch now and other things. EC2 was published the same year, but a bit later. Amazing things, feels like yesterday. Definitely is not. And then we had multiple other stuff, blah, blah, blah. Containers, and 2015, this came out, which was the Raft consensus protocol, and with that etcd, and the rest is history. About history, this was the first European KubeCon. I don't know who've been here. I've been there. It was in Berlin. This was a mural that they had there. And those were the times, right? So those were the sponsors. I don't know. I guess you know those guys. Datadog. Are we allowed to put Datadog up here today? but I think we see Dynatrace as well somewhere. Yeah. I think they were. Where is it?
Silver sponsor.
Silver sponsor. Aha. Okay. Ranger still kicking, I guess, with SUSE. Who's using Ranger, by the way? Oh, all right. Is it working? So.
Siege technology. It works sometimes and sometimes not.
Oh, okay. I see. Lutze. Do you remember Lutze? They're still out there.
Kubernetes.
Yes. Kubernetes now. Right. Chef. Anyone using Chef nowadays, by the way?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
Fading out.
I see. Fading out. What do you switch it out for? You use? Ansible. Okay. I see. Yeah.
But it's more for legacy stuff.
Yeah, I said this is a memory lane presentation today, and thanks for supporting this. Thanks. And then the most important thing happened. We founded CNCB in 2018. Okay, I guess it was not the most important thing, but as you can see, we found it quite early after the first KubeCon. I think it was interesting. So, and yeah, I'm definitely getting old. And today I want to talk about the things we learned. I have 5 chapters. I put in everything in one slide deck, so could take a while. But glad you're here. So I mean, we have those things every one of us has in their minds, right? So what do we want? We wanted to have containers. So we started with servers, then we had virtual machines, and then a cool thing like build packs came in and Heroku and things like that, and now we have containers. Great. So we have slim building blocks that we can use. We have isolation units that went thinner in weight, so they were lightweight or became lightweight. Immutability from pets to cattle. We talked about that 18 years ago, so everyone has it already ingrained, I guess. And something interesting happened. It was a very closed source environment, right? And it went quite open with Kubernetes and the Cloud Native Foundation. So what are the most important things? And today I want to really go back to the basics. I think it's very important to talk about basics more often than we perhaps do, because they're ingrained, but on the other hand, they're still interesting. And it's still good to remind ourselves, I think, of those things. So some of those slides are from 2020, some of those are from 2018. They're old, but still relevant, right? So avoid vendor lock-in. With using Kubernetes, I think, to be honest, isn't it incredible what happened? I think it's incredible. We have Kubernetes in for use at different hyperscalers. I think it's incredible that even happened. But we have it now. We have huge scalability. I wouldn't go that far to say unlimited, but huge scalability. We increased agility and maintainability I mean, I don't need to tell you that. It's on your mind every day, I guess. Efficiency in resource utilization, of course. That was one of the main benefits, right, by using Kubernetes, that we're able to to leverage the hardware more than we were able before. We achieved more resiliency. Who of you are using Chaos Monkey or the Simian Army? Anyone using that?
We're not really in production, so we try it out from time to time and test it out, but for our customers, we don't have it in production.
Yeah, interesting. So nobody's using that.
Tried.
Tried?
Just started doing so.
Okay.
It's fun.
It's fun. Yeah. Guess so. You used it. Can we have the microphone? Sebastian, can you give us the other microphone? That would be great, so that our people in the stream can listen to it. Thanks. Thanks a lot. Thanks.
I just wanted to, I guess it's not necessary to do chaos testing because, well, there's enough chaos in the world that you don't really need to add more to it. So as Werner Vogel said, everything fails all the time. I think this allows for enough test scenarios.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting take, of course. What I'm just curious in that we have some things that we have for a long time, right? And you'll see it in the slide deck more than once. But we're still not there in some things. So we have some things for, I don't know, cloud computing, 18 years. There are still companies that would benefit from it, but still don't use it. Because of funding, of time, who knows? I think it's just interesting that it takes so long for things to be established in a way. And of course, the whole DevOps topic. So having shorter lead times, having infrastructure as code, more frequent deployments, and so on and so on. I think we all benefit a lot from that. What else have we learned? And this is now just really one-on-one slides from taken out of the 2020 presentation by Dan Cohn. So when we look at monoliths and microservices, I saw the discussion about when should we split up the monolith. I saw this a lot. And I like those slides because they say that maybe it's not necessary to start by splitting up the monolith. And what he did is he's quoting the Mythical Man month. I think everyone knows the book anyways. If not, read it. It's really, really good. And Frederick Brooks writes that rewrites might be the worst possible option that you can take. And by rewriting a monolith or starting from scratch rewriting a monolith, the existing system will always evolve faster than the second one can catch up. And we saw this in our industry a lot. Some companies went bankrupt, even big ones. I don't know if you know Softimage. It was the 3D modeling tool available, used by professionals in Hollywood and so on. And then one day they said they introduced Softimage XSI, and now they are not there anymore. They were bought by Autodesk, who else, and failed because they spent all the money with rewriting and it took them years to catch up. So what Dan introduced was that instead of rewriting the monolith into microservices is to maybe take another route. So yes, the monolith is perhaps problematic in a lot of cases. In other cases, of course, it's the right architecture to have. No question about that. So it's inflexible, tightly coupled and brittle, sometimes at least. And what he said is we can do lift and shift. I mean, it's not forbidden. We can do it. Maybe it's the best first steps to do so. Then we can chip away one part or the other as time goes by, especially when it comes to new features, right? Then we follow these steps, have more and more functionality outside of that. We start with stateless services, and we transition our data stores last. And those things, I think, as I said, back to basics. These are now on the slides, easily written down. But I had lots of discussions about those slides. A lot of discussions, months of discussions. So I think it helps to have it again in your mind and remember things like that. Yeah, and then we enjoy, of course, the microservice world. And no, I don't think it's just partying in the Renaissance. But interesting enough, what Dan wanted to say is that we have greenfield, but it's also possible to introduce Kubernetes in a brownfield environment. And I think most of us did this, right? I mean, who had only greenfield? I guess no one. So who had the dirtiest brownfield? Who thinks they had the dirtiest brownfield? Any hands? Any war stories here tonight? No. Oh. But it's good. You don't want to blame your customers. That's fine. Yeah, more about evolving monoliths. I think those links are more or less outdated. I guess there are new ones that you could look at, but Ticketmaster and KeyBank might be interesting things to look at. What have I learned for? And that's I love it. The 12-factor app. It's interesting. I looked that up when I prepared those slides, and they have a new GitHub account and a new GitHub code for developing their website, which, by the way, looks the same as it did in 2011, so you don't miss much if you didn't know that they had a new one. But they reintroduced it this year, I think, 2024. And I think it's very, very still one of the best things to look at. It seems old, and it is from 2011, but it's still valid, right? So code base. Okay, one code base, direct and revision control, many deploys. Yeah. I guess many companies didn't do this 2011, or the bigger ones did, but definitely not all of them. And now, I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? Have everything in your code base tracked and revision controlled. Or is anyone here still logging into the production service and fixing things at 1:00 a.m. Sunday morning? No, nice, great. Dependencies, explicitly declare and isolate dependencies. Okay, by the way, those guys were coming from Ruby and Ruby on Rails, and I think they did this quite nice, this dependency management. Python, is anyone of you using UV now? Who's using UV? You know about UV? UV, just you and the we? UV, no? Look it up, it's really good. Not only is it written in Rust, but it's really good in dependency management and managing your virtual environments. And don't start with poetry, please. Look up UV, really. If you take anything with you tonight, UV. You and a we. Config, yeah. Don't hard code your config. Use config in your environment, especially important, of course, if you use Kubernetes. Backing services, so the local and third-party services are backed up by APIs and talked to by APIs. I think something that 12-factor app brought in and was very relevant and is still very relevant, of course. Then we have those phases where we strictly separate build and run stages. I mean, every one of you has to do with that, right? And we do it now, but it wasn't that much done in 2011. And 2011, it's not that long ago, right? I think it's amazing that how it looked like 2011. Okay, every one of us is using it, of course. We have now the containers, which are ephemeral, and we have the data somewhere else, and we don't share states and so on. Still relevant and still an important basic, right? We bind using ports. We have self-contained apps. and we address them via reverse proxy and stuff like that. We are able to scale out via process model. And it's so important that I put it in twice, it seems. We are able to be concurrent. All the things that we need to be able to horizontally scale, right? And this blew my mind now. So this was 12 factor apps. It's already, it's 8. I skipped the rest. But this is what I like most. It's from the new GitHub account, and this is the vision that they now said 12-factor apps have. And I put it in bold because I think this is most important. The 12-factor app focuses on enabling developers to operationalize for free. So how can you build software where operating the software is more or less for free? And I like this vision because I forgot about that. Well, that's the vision. We're not there yet, I guess. Who's there? Where operating is free. You just serverless wanted to be there, I think.
Depends on the definition of free.
Yeah, of course.
From time, free from cost.
No, yeah, good question. I would say free from, for me, it would be free from time, not free from cost, because somebody has to run. But who's using serverless in production a lot? Any success stories with serverless, by the way? You? Yes? Give this man the microphone. We have a serverless success story.
Yeah, in one of my previous jobs we used it, and it's really cool. You can scale down to 0. You can basically forget about all of the operational aspects. It was a big mind shift to just commit some code in whatever language you want. Could be TypeScript, could be Java, could be Python, whatever. And then just see it run. The only thing you specify is the API. What I also liked a lot is that a lot of different teams can start contributing, because it just set up a webhook and the teams just provide their piece of code. It's a totally different perspective than writing a complete application. You just write one small piece, which has an input and an output, usually no data storage. You can have one if you like, but it's cool. It's really, you forget about operations.
And completely. What did you use, what, if I may ask? What?
Amazon.
Oh, I see, Lambda.
Yep.
Okay, nice. Did you look at any other things? Because I know some really people who tried to use Knative, but at least they were not super successful. Any other experience with other services than Lambda? I don't know, Azure Functions. What is it called at Google, by the way? I'm not a super Google expert. Do you know? What are they called? Google Functions? I know GCP Functions. No idea. Okay. Google Run? Google Run, okay. Hi. Yeah, and in the end, when it comes to basics, the discussions I had most were not about software, things like that. The discussions I had most were about how can we do this. Is it really possible to do that? It's not possible to do that. No, we'll never be able to do that. So, in my opinion, really the most time I discussed things. And meeting, discussing, and evolving was for me the most important aspect when it comes to introducing cloud native. Because the tools are more or less here. Could they improve, of course, but meeting, discussing, and evolving together, and evolving the environment we're in, and evolving the infrastructure we're in, that was for me the most important aspects. So it's all about us people, I guess. Who would have known? Yeah, and then I looked at all the things you heard about, I guess, team topologies and Knevin framework and worldly mapping and all the things that help getting a vision out there or getting a better understanding. For example, Knevin, we can use it in different ways. I use it a lot now with project management, because what is a good approach when And I mean, that's one of the key things here, right? When it's easy, you might be able to draw up a map, just do waterfall for 2 weeks, it's done. When it's complicated, you bring in the big guys and they do the waterfall for you and it's run. And then when it's complex, you have to think more and you should go there in an iterative way. Sorry for that. Team topologies helped me a lot when it came to establishing something in huge companies that have lots of legacy, because they're used to thinking those terms and teams, right? They have their silos and they more or less have something like platform teams. They just didn't call it that, and maybe it was the maturity was bad. Some people here did this with me. Thanks for that. Thanks for supporting me on the way. We did amazing things there, definitely, and was better to use that and to show them what a platform team could look like, having self-service APIs, self-service things, and so on, providing knowledge to people and being an enabler for other teams. I think it brought in a lot of clarity. And yeah, I mean, I did a slide yesterday, and it honestly blows my mind. Extreme programming, every time I look at that, it blows my mind. Because Kent Beck did in 1999 everything, more or less. The whole HR thing, he just wrote it down in a book, and that's it. And the rest is, yeah, nice, but everything's there. I mean, beauty. I love it. Yeah, so that's about Cloud Native, and sorry for that, a bit about me, because I'm the one presenting here today. So that's me, I guess, a bit younger, 7 years. And yeah, I'm a team topologies advocate now. So I do this, I bring this into other companies and look at the socio-technical architecture that they have. If you need help there or know someone who needs help there, please hit me up at malte.fiala@spacelike.ai. And spacelike.ai, what's that? Yeah, so I have a company at Spacelike AI, and as you can imagine, what we're doing is something with AI. Helping customers implement models, integrate AI in their company. More or less, what is AI? Of course, more or less machine learning. Machine learning models, integrating machine learning models. And if you need help there as well, yeah, just hit me up. So it was a bit of an advertisement too today. Sorry for that. So with that being said, I'm happy to move to the second thing we do tonight, which is having a podium discussion, a panel discussion about the next 10 years of Cloud Native. And we are super flexible in our approach and decided to adapt it a bit tonight. So what we'll have is we'll look at, we talk in the panel, and after 15 minutes we'll open up the panel, and we'd be very happy to have you discussing with us. So don't be shy. You can be shy for 15 minutes, that's good. You have 15 minutes to acclimatisieren. What's it in English? Acclimate? Accommodate, something like that. Okay, and for that, I need your help now. Manuel Klein. Manuel Klein, thanks a lot for being here.
Yeah, thanks.
Pleasure to having you.
Yeah.
Of course. We need yes, that's fine, we can have that, nice. And we need this, thanks. To be decided. Oops. Maximilian, danke vielmals. Thanks a lot for being here. Thanks.
For having me.
Yeah, of course. And Bernd, thank you. Thanks. And you know, the one thing that I learned in the last 20 years is that there are, interesting enough, you have those huge companies like PwC that are more often or not in the front row. And some of them doing a great job, like PwC.
Thank you for the words.
And some of them are not doing that great of a job. But what you need is you need those people who really do the great job, right? So I'm really happy and excited to have you here as well, because more often than not, those small companies, or they're less known than others. Whew. But most of the times they're doing the really hard work, and so I'm happy to have you. Et voilà. I think you'll tell us about what you're doing, and Square, of course. I think I'll give you the microphone first. Introduce yourselves, what you're doing, what your company is doing, and then we'll start the panel. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Malte, for having me today. If you read the invitation carefully, then actually David from Square should have been here today, but he cannot make it, so I'm super happy to jump in. My name is Manuel. I'm one of the co-founders of Square Solutions. So we are a technology consulting company from Vienna, focusing very much on legacy system transformation, cloud native journeys, so everything around that. And my personal journey was starting very technical, then focusing a little bit more on the organizational side. So from me, you can expect some thoughts or some discussion points or insight on how to get it straight actually on the organizational level, not just on the technical level. So I was already pretty excited when you were mentioning team topologies before, because I think we can have some nice discussions about this today as well. So yeah. Sure. Thanks for having me, and looking forward to the discussion. Also looking forward some of you to join here the panel. So I think let's keep it interactive and entertaining for everybody.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Maximilian Marschall, Unit Lead Cloud Native at Evola. We are doing consulting, mostly in the Broadcom ecosystem. I'm focusing on the cloud native part, mostly on-premise Kubernetes, not only the VMware Tanzu stuff, but also Kubernetes in general. I'm coming from the networking sector and now focus on Kubernetes and how to deploy apps, and helping my customers to do some platform engineering and get their Kubernetes infrastructure up and running and keep it running.
Oh yeah, important part, I guess, right?
Hey, my name is Bernd. Very happy to be invited today and to meet you all. I'm the cloud transformation leader at PwC, doing a lot with Microsoft together, getting customers to the cloud. And no, I'm not doing just PowerPoint slides, as you might guess. I have a very technical background coming from IT infrastructure. However, I've also a lot of touch point with the cloud native ecosystem like KubeEdge. Someone knows KubeEdge? Basically, it's a Kubernetes which is not aware to latency. You can distribute the cluster around the whole world, and I've done this for A1 as an example. So maybe I can bring in some input from a telco perspective as well.
Sure.
Nice to meet you.
Nice, thanks. I would say you keep the mic.
Okay.
So the topic today is cloud native in 10 years. What could it look like in 10 years? What are your thoughts on that?
In 10 years. 10 years is a very, very long time. Some numbers, if you look back 10 years, we talked about gigabytes, today it's terabytes. Another 10 years, did we talk about petabytes? We don't know. Very long time. What I can see regarding the cloud native stuff, like being portable and something, is that the big providers are trying to catch the customers. Of course, there's Kubernetes, it's super portable. However, they build a lot of services around this offering and trying to make it not portable anymore. And I'm a little bit afraid they will be successful. Mm-hmm. We already see this in the Microsoft Azure ecosystem, also in other clouds, of course. And I hope it's not going so far, but I think it could be a little bit, regarding vendor lock-in, could be problematic in 10 years.
Okay. Any thoughts on that, Maximilian?
Yeah, so I also fear this kind of vendor lock-in, but not only in the cloud ecosystem, but also on-prem. There is different enterprise Kubernetes solutions which have some things that are not upstream compatible. And what I've seen at a lot of customers is that they only want to use upstream Kubernetes resources, and I also suggest them to do so they can stay portable and deploy the workload on whichever distribution they may want to use. That's why a lot of my customers don't really use the offered services like SQL as a service or similar stuff if it's not really needed. And instead of that, use portable Kubernetes operators to solve these problems. For sure, that comes at a higher operational time budget, but you don't have the fear of vendor lock-in that much because you can just take your stuff and deploy it somewhere else or use some other distribution, which is, in my opinion, really important, especially for the future, because we've seen a lot of license changes and also pricing changes in the past years. So, yeah. Also some take on that?
Yeah, I think like vendor lock-in is a hot topic always has been, right? And I thought about this also with our clients pretty often because if you go enterprise, right, then you need to have some security and you have to spend some money. So either you're spending the money for enterprise licenses where you have a vendor lock-in and you avoid problems at that point of time, maybe, or you spend the money to build up the capabilities to help yourself in a moment of a problem, right? This is the same when you make a decision for a hyperscaler, right? You can either decide for a multi-cloud strategy, which I personally never saw like working in a very efficient way. So that means you're taking a lot of costs at the time when you're going all the time. Or you can decide to take the cost later on when you do a change from one hyperscaler to the next. So I think if we're talking about vendor lock-in, the ultimate question always is, when do you want to pay the price? Do you want to pay it continuously or do you want to pay it at the later stage, right? So I think, for my opinion, it will not change dramatically with a magnitude of technology that is coming towards us in the next 10 years. I think the situation pretty much will stay the same, right? So that's my take. Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot. So I think it's we warm up now, right? We've warmed up. I think I have a mic. You see, I'm privileged. I have privileges, permission. So I would say we open up the round. Who had the idea? It wasn't me. Can you explain it? How does it work?
Yeah, of course I can explain it. First, we need one more chair.
Okay, yeah, that's easy. I can do that.
That's easy. It's called fishbowl. Somebody did this already before, fishbowl? Okay. It's in a way that like we are opening the discussion and we are putting one more chair. So if you have the feeling that you want to contribute to the discussion, which would be very nice to have like diverse perspectives, then you can just walk in or sneak in.
Well, I'll show it.
Yeah, Malte shows it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And now imagine that all the chairs are taken, right? And then somebody from us is going to make space and always have one empty chair so that somebody else again can join the discussion. Huh? And if you have the feeling you not want to contribute anymore or you have said everything you wanted to say, then you're just freeing up your space again and you make place for somebody else.
Nice.
So basically that's the idea. I think it's pretty straightforward.
How is it called?
Fishbowl.
Fishbowl.
Normally it's called fishbowl because the people who are discussing are sitting in the middle and all the other persons are standing around them. It's like a fishbowl. But in this case, I think it would be a little bit complicated to set it up now this way. So we changed a little bit. Yeah? It's a fake fishbowl.
It's a sushi.
Sushi. Okay.
Good. So now that that's held, if you want to join in, just join in, and we'll start the next topic. You have the microphone. What's on your mind?
Yes.
In 10 years.
In 10 years.
In 10 years. No, what's on your mind now?
Yeah, for the next 10 years. Okay. I had a couple of topics on. Hi, thank you. I had a couple of topics on mind, right? And as I said at the beginning, I'm coming more like from the organizational side of things. So I would like to ask with the question. I'd like to start to ask a question to the audience. Who of you is really working in a you build it, you run it mode? That means you're building it, you're running it 24/7, on call, all the stuff. Like, yes? Huh? Yes?
Oh, they work for the same company, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
you join us, I leave.
So now you see what is a little bit my thought. Now, I think from a technology perspective, we have everything we need, right? So we got, if we think back like 10, 15 years ago, it was a super huge struggle to bring stuff to production because you had a lot of dependencies to other teams, operations teams. Somebody had to do your deployment. You have to fill like 10,000 forms and do a big regression test and stuff like that, right? Now we are over that point, and still we do not really see out there teams too much who are really having full control over their products in a really you build it, you run it way. Again, you're starting with the struggles like putting it to the operations team, and they are doing the on-call, which actually completely goes aside of the idea of you build it, you run it, right? So for me, in the next 10 years, it would be super interesting how this would evolve, and if we are anyhow then going back in 5 or 6 years, maybe we say, okay, now we tried it for nearly 20 years then, still adoption rate of really you build it, you run it is like 3%. Let's establish the classical operations teams again. Why not, right? Or if we manage to get the curve and to see how it goes. Yeah.
What's your take on that?
So I think what's the enabler for this, you build it, you run it, is this operationalize for free. The teams like the ones I'm working in can do this because there is another team in our company who takes the cost. So we also have like serverless functions, which we kind of built ourselves. I don't know what's the underlying layer, sorry for that, but there are teams within our company who can operationalize for free and own their own thing because another team took the cost to make it as simple for them as possible. But that's within our company. We need to make it that easy for everybody on any hyperscaler. So I think we still haven't found the right abstraction level or the ease of use of all these cloud-native tools to not have a dedicated platform team who takes this cost. Yeah, I think that's exactly the point.
Nice, thanks. But what will it be in 10 years? You mentioned hyperscalers. So you think that in 10 years, hyperscalers will provide that to more people than are perhaps at the moment able to do this?
I hope we'll find even better standards. So like the container image is a great standard that we came to. If we find standards like this for like the big things like running cron jobs, having storage, the S3 interface is great, but I think there's more to it than, or this is not peak yet. So I would hope that in 10 years from now we found even easier abstractions and better standards that would allow this operationalize for free for all teams.
Nice. Maximilian, any thoughts on that? Or maybe let's have the new joiner. Can you introduce yourself for just a second?
My name is Michael.
Okay. Hi.
Hi. Well, if we are looking that far ahead, 10 years in IT is potentially some X years in slow life, normal life, let's call it like this. I would also try, and if Malte is changing towards or putting more gravity behind his AI ambitions, I would like to open up a little bit the cloud native / potentially AI discussion. How, from your point of view, or how do you see, maybe in 2 years would be already great, the impact of AI on cloud native potentially bots handling operations, automation tasks, sort of.
So I think that AI can support users and also infrastructure people big time in cloud native and all the infrastructure stuff because it makes stuff even easier to use. But it also introduces a problem I fear, which is too much abstraction for most of the people. Because in the end, you have a lot of people that use stuff, but don't question why the stuff that they are using is working. And in the end, you have a lot of people that use a platform that they can't troubleshoot and can't understand. And that's a big problem now already, at least from what I've seen at my customers. So it's kind of hard to enable the users of a platform to understand all the underlying bits and pieces because it gets, there's a lot of complexity for everything to work properly. And we have a quite big abstraction in there with Kubernetes, which can make it easy to use with a developer platform. And as we already talked, this needs to get even easier for the developers to adopt it. But this also brings the problem with making it maybe too easy, so nobody asks why it's working. And yeah, I fear that we will have big problems getting people who are able to troubleshoot bigger problems when they occur.
But what's the difference to today? I mean, today we have people who design hardware, then we have people who write operating systems and things like that. Then we have people, so it's already stacked. So what's the difference to the future? Isn't it just one layer more and that's it? Or so what's the difference?
So I think the problem is that one thing abstracts everything now. And to fully be able to troubleshoot your Kubernetes stack, you should know a bit about storage, a bit about networking, a bit about Linux, a bit about containers, and there's like a whole lot of bits you need to know to understand the whole system. And like 10 years ago, it was the silos. Classically, you had your network guy, you had your storage guy, you had your virtualization guy, and your application guy. And all these tasks are now more or less one, because that's the platform. And in the end, you need to understand, at least to a certain extent, also the other topics to be able to troubleshoot and fence your problems.
Okay, that's now a home goal for the man of Dynatrace. I'm interested in his opinion, of course, now.
So what's your question then?
So it's getting more complex, right?
Yeah.
We have layer above layer. I understood that you're in the business of making those layers transparent. So in your opinion, is it just one layer more that you have to, I don't know, instrument, or is it different this time? And if so, why?
I don't see AI as another layer on top. When it comes to AI, I would rather think, or I would hope that it allows for easier access to the information we need to understand systems, or maybe to reason about the systems we already built. I can't see it as a layer on top that abstracts away stuff from below. Speaking again of standards and seeing like open standards like OpenTelemetry arise, I think this is where we need to push to still make the stuff below visible when we need to. Like our traces tell you on which machine stuff broke, even though you usually don't care about it. But maybe since you shifted from AWS to Azure, you realize, oh, these disks don't behave the same because they're slightly different. And at a certain load, this makes a difference. So not every abstraction is perfect. Sometimes they leak. And once they leak, you need to understand the stuff below. So you need those experts. Maybe AI can, not replace, but make us experts in more stuff. But I can't see see AI as a layer on top that is another abstraction.
Manuel, I know that you have something to say about this topic. So,
I think that if I got it right, like you have a little bit of different perspectives on the topic, right? Because as you were elaborating before, you said like we are still not at the point where we make the use of technology easy enough that teams can easily like use platforms and so on. And like your take was a little bit more like if we abstract the complexity away and away, then we lose a little bit the view on the detail and cannot troubleshoot anymore, right? I think both of it is like a valid perspective, and I tend to be a little bit more like with your argumentation, because I think we have to enable teams to use infrastructure as easy as possible to keep this innovation going, right? To keep the speed going in which we are progressing at the moment. Huh? In terms of AI, I mean, I think, Malte, you're way more expert than I am, but what I see is interesting effects that we are stumbling now upon problems that we already solved for the classical industry. Let me give you one example, like scalability, like managing infrastructure with Kubernetes was actually basically super easy to scale up, scale down, everything nice. Now, if you have models which are using a lot of GPU power, right, and you just think about the easy use case, easy in classical software development nowadays, like blue-green deployment, and you want to do this with a heavy model that is using a lot of GPU, then basically you just need double the amount of what you need to run just to do blue-green deployments, right? So this is a problem that we actually already solved for classical industry, but now it's coming back just in a very different perspective, which I find very interesting.
And NVIDIA loves it, I guess.
NVIDIA loves it, of course. I mean, take a look at their stock prices. Yeah. But I think we will face more of these things, right?
Maybe to me it feels like AI is putting us to the test if we learned our stuff. Like, okay, Kubernetes can abstract away things like more resources than just CPU and memory. So now we have a bit more of a tricky workload with if you run your own models. So if we learned our stuff, we should be able to deal with it. But as you said, it really puts us to the test.
Bernd, you had your break. So,
Thank you.
Do you have what's your take on that?
One word on the abstraction layer. What I see is we all were part of the history. We started with physical server, then we're going to virtualization, started with container, and you have worked on every part, and that's why at the end you know how, as Maximilian said, how to troubleshoot Kubernetes. You know there's anywhere far below, there must be hardware at the end. That also will be in 10 years the same. And when I'm looking at younger people, they just using the services because they had not the chance to walk through history and learn each stuff from the beginning. And what I can see, and what's also a problem when trying to find new good employees, they had no idea around the stuff going on at the bottom. And I think it's not so easy to learn this really from the beginning, as we had the chance.
Do you need it? Yeah, this is also what. Do you need it, right? Because like when I started programming, I started with Java, JVM stuff, and so on. So like you could have asked the same question back then. Like, did you ever implement assembler, right? Because it's just like it's a question of layers, right? You're doing, as you said, you're doing one abstraction over the other. The question is, how far do you really have to understand it, right? And I think you have to understand it as much as you need to fix the layer, right? So you would never fix a like operation system layer or something like this. So as much as you go down the technology depth, that much you have to understand it, right? At least from my perception.
I'm thinking ahead of short advertisement break. There's another meetup next week where a colleague of mine talks about JavaScript frameworks and how they might affect your career. I'm thinking if you start to learn about all the Amazon Web Services, of which there are a few hundred by now, you would be thinking of vendor lock-in again. Your career path would be kind of vendor locked in. So I guess learning about Linux is nice because you know that you will face this in every kind of company. But then even then you're quite locked into a certain system. So again, it's interesting what abstractions we might come up with, because if you learn Kubernetes, you can be sure that this is a skill you can apply in almost any company or for any kind of workload. You will hopefully see this around in 10 years from now. I'm waiting for the point where the number of services in AWS start to reduce again. Like when is peak Amazon Web Services?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I think you'd be interested in the reInvent this year.
Yeah. Okay.
Because people are saying the point is now.
Okay. I have colleagues. I have colleagues who studied with me who are now in the job of just consulting companies, so they know what to pick from this enormous catalog of stuff. And if you've reached that point, I think you overdid it already.
Yeah. Now, people are saying the point is now. We can see it with Google. I know Google already it's already a running joke that Google is closing down products before they even had time to live. But people are saying that the point is now. I'm really interested about the reInvent. Let's see. I think it's in December, right? It's 2 weeks, something like that.
So I want to hook into the thing which you said about assembler, like the comparison. I think that's a good comparison. And if you use a cloud provider, then you don't care about all the stuff. That's 100% correct. But there is also companies that run on premises, and there you will always need somebody who takes care about the virtualization layer and the Kubernetes layer and running all this stuff. And you will need guys who run this. And also, as Bernd already said, it's hard to find people that have all the knowledge to troubleshoot these complex systems. And maybe not every company needs people like that, especially not if they only use hyperscalers. They don't need those people. That's correct. But for a lot of companies, the hyperscaler can be quite expensive, and it can be cheaper to run on premises. It totally depends on the workload, and if you can scale up and down and stuff like that, and what you actually need. So I think the comparison is 100% correct for cloud providers, but for on-premises, you will forever have some hardware running in some cabinet, and somebody will still have to swap drives if they break and stuff like that. Maybe not drives, but SSDs or NVMEs, whatever. But in the end, it's still down to the hardware. So all these levels need to be understood from somebody. And you can only be really efficient in troubleshooting these systems if you understand the underlying stuff. So that's my take on that.
For chiming in again. I just had the thought, because you showed the image of the cloud native landscape, kind of, or was it just this picture is now so huge, it kind of is the new service catalog. So what was previously maybe Amazon Web Services, now you have all these cloud native projects that you should know about or should have learned about. So maybe the next step is to reduce that map again. I recently saw a headline that was like simplifying Kubernetes with service mesh. And it was in our comedy channel, because it's, you get the joke, right? Is it really simplifying? So again, maybe it's not only abstractions, it's also how do we reach simpler systems. And so then when is it peak cloud native tooling? Should we reduce this map again?
Actually, that's also something that's happening now. Yeah. They are starting to think about how to kick out projects that went stale or are just not the correct way today. Because just up to now, I think there is no process of getting rid of projects that are already in there. Mm-hmm. Just a promotion, but not...
sunsetting.
Yes, exactly. Getting them out again there is not a process as far as I know. But they were talking about that lately.
I didn't think that we talk about hardware today, but I mean, of course, lots of clients, lots of people still have lots of hardware and don't use hyperscalers. Lots of people build up their own cloud cloud environment in their companies, right? What will be in 10 years? Maximilian, what's your take? Because I mean, you're in that space, right? You have lots of customers that still, or I don't know, is it even still? Is it going back to cloud native on your on-premises, or where's it going to?
So I see a lot of customers who never went to the cloud because they have some critical stuff and they are either not allowed to go to a hyperscaler, or they just don't want because of security concerns, and are running air-gapped systems, so there is no option for going to a hyperscaler because no hyperscaler offers you a rack that you can put into your data center without a connection outside. Like there is this Azure on-premise stuff and AWS on-premise stuff, but you still need a connection to them, and that's no option for a lot of my customers. So yes, there will be on-premises stuff. Also, there is, especially in defense sector, cloud native is also coming to different vehicles and stuffs like ships or planes that run Kubernetes workloads. And I don't think you can put that into a hyperscaler. So there will be for sure on-premises also in 10 years. Maybe the use cases will change. I also think like serverless, for example, needs to evolve and be better on premises, because for now, if you pay per action or per call, it can get quite expensive if you scale. So that's a thing where I think we need to involve in the on-premise world, and Dynatrace has an interesting stack for that. Sadly, it's not open source, but there was a great talk at the Kubernetes Community Days about your custom Node.js runtime. I really enjoyed that one. I think it's on YouTube if you want to check it out. So I think on-premises is definitely not going to die, and there is also some reports that show that 83% of asked companies are thinking or already migrating stuff back from a hyperscaler to on-premises, like not everything, but certain use cases, because they're just too expensive to run in the cloud.
Thanks. Eric, you were first, I think. Can you introduce yourself? We know each other, but...
Hi, Hello, Malte. I'm Eric. I'm from Wizards. We are also in the cloud consulting, cloud native consulting business, I would say. And today I'm here discussing with you about next years of cloud native. Some thoughts about the layers also, and also AI from my side. We're talking about hyperscaler. If no one there would be no people that have to manage it. Even if they're just hyperscaler anymore, then there also need to be people managing hardware, because the hyperscaler also need to be built up from someone. So for me, the thing is just how many people managing this stuff in the end. And if you build a good abstraction, a good layer, then you can probably build up something with less people. This is, I think, the main point here. For sure, it's also something to do if a company can do it on its own, or another can have a supplier for it, for sure. But also this comes to the same point. And the AI stuff, I think, at least as I see AI, currently AI has proven itself that it can support people in some use cases. But for me, it had not proved itself that it really can do something on its own, like making own decisions yet. And therefore, I think that the question is not so much if we trust the AI to do so. I think the question is if it can prove itself that it can do like operation in a way that we can trust it. because when I'm totally convinced if this is the state that we can try it, we have some use cases or have tried it out and it will manage it very good, then there are for sure some people, companies that will apply it and test it in the test system, then it worked out, then they go to production because they say, see, okay, it will save a lot of money. So I think this is the point what AI needs to do, and if we are on the state, then yeah.
Okay,
there will be trust.
Let's put it over to Man in Red. Can you introduce yourselves?
Yeah,
and let's go back, please, to, even though it's interesting, let's go back to the question if hardware will be still there, or how much hardware will be there in 10 years. Will people go back to on-premises, or will they go even further to hyperscalers? Yes, please.
Yeah, my name is Hussam. I just had thoughts like where cloud native will be like in 10 years. I looked back like 10 years before, like how the way like how we hosted like stuff on systems, and before like we have all these like tools in the cloud native, this like in the map from cloud native tools. Like to host, I mean, if you don't want to host systems on the cloud, you have to, without the tools, like without Kubernetes and all the tools we have nowadays, we have to have deep understanding of networking, storage, and like to the hardware level, in order to do the stuff, like to do hosting or like stuff properly. But now, with all these tools, like we are from the cloud native, we abstract all like we have this abstract level, so we don't really like need this deep understanding for networking, storage. We have Kubernetes, and I think because I'm coming from a long journey working with cloud native, hosting all the stuff like on-premise, using the cloud native applications. I think it's like in 10 years, it will enable people more like to host stuff and serve them on-premise environments, more than to be locked to cloud providers. I mean, looking at the success story from the 37 signals of switching from cloud providers to their on-premise environment and saving, I don't know, I forgot the numbers, like maybe 15 or like 150 millions per year.
Was it the Hay story?
37 signals. Like they switched all the hosting from the cloud. They were locked to the cloud, and they did a long journey, migrating to on-premise environment. And there's a very nice article from David, if I remember his name, the head of 37 Signals. It tells like how much they cost, like they saved. Yeah, so I think in 10 years, I think the cloud native will enable us like more to host, like not to be locked to the cloud, because like cloud native and cloud isn't really isn't the same.
I see, yeah.
Yeah.
Bernd, I think you wanted to say something, right, before that?
Short take on that. I don't think anything of these both worlds are going to die soon. Like on-premises will be there in 10 years. Also, the cloud environment will be available. However, what I think is that the control plane on how everything is managed will be slightly shifted into the cloud direction. We already see this in some products where you have to control things from the cloud. Locally is just like a black box connected to the cloud, and I think this will become more, that's back to the start of the discussion, like vendor lock-in, and I think this will come more. So hopefully there will be open source alternatives available, like, I don't know, Proxmox or something else to host stuff locally.
Hi, I'm Martin. My question is not so much about if it's a public, private, or whatever cloud or hyperscaler or a small scaler like a local ones. It's more if we will see a switch back from containers and virtual machines more to bare metal, maybe on smaller system like RISC-V or ARMS, reducing the virtual layers and shared layers. As I see one business unit which might have a big benefit from AI, it's the hackers, which can start a lot of different vulnerability scans or attacks against all these layers. And we saw that even more Linux problems are coming up in all these hypervisors defined even more security hacks. And now we are sharing critical systems more and more. And maybe should remove that back more to a more dedicated environment again, or a mixture. So to have Kubernetes more as a scheduler and not as just an UI for Docker.
So I think the bare metal part can be interesting for special use cases. But what I see at a lot of my customers is that they get enabled to do better security with virtualization, because, for example, they can do smaller Kubernetes clusters with less cost than if they would do bare metal worker nodes, for example. And so they can network microsegment those hosts. And for sure, you need good security also for your virtualization layer and all other layers. And also, I don't think AI is that big of a problem for the infrastructure itself. Like if a hacker uses AI, the bigger risk is deepfake calls and messages written by AI trained with special data. So the social engineering part is the bigger problem, in my opinion, coming from AI. And AI also can help us defend really great against hackers with signature detection and similar stuff. And yesterday I've been at the VR update in Graz from Broadcom, and there was a presentation from NetApp, which was quite interesting because they were talking about some hacking incident where NetApp was targeted with deepfake voice calls, which was quite interesting because they took videos from the CEO of NetApp from America and trained a voice with these videos, and then called the Austrian CEO of NetApp and told him to move funds because they want to buy a company and stuff like that. I mean, it didn't go through, but like that's a big problem, in my opinion, with the AI stuff, and it's more on the social engineering side than on the real attack thing. So I think it doesn't really matter if you have virtualization layer in between there or not for these security reasons. I think you can benefit more. But on the other hand, for edge deployments, so edge cases, it can be useful to have some low-powered worker node, for example, with ARM chips or similar, which can be bare metal.
Bernd, edge computing. We discussed this before the event started. We talked a bit about edge computing. What about edge computing? I mean, talking about RISC-V and so on. How will we define edge computing in 10 years, and what comes with it, and what's the future of that?
I think it's something that we have to look on, because AI and IoT is generating lots of data, and you don't want to move everything into a single place and calculate it there. You have to filter stuff at the edge, because you can't handle so much data we will have in 10 years. You have to somehow analyze things and just send the results. And that's why I think edge computing will become more and more. Also, telcos already looking at that, doing compute at 5G masten towers. Thank you. And they will do more computing at the edge and trying to filter this stuff. And I'm interesting what's coming from the cloud native cloud native corner to support us with tools, because I don't think there's so many available yet. Maybe I'm wrong.
One question regarding the edge thing. Like there is different definitions of edge. Is your opinion that we will have like one big data center and a lot of edges, or more like the data center fog edge thing, where you have some regional data center that handles most of the stuff, and only critical stuff that needs it gets sent back to the main data center, and the edge node only does like the little processing? Like, would you see it only like 2 tiers, so one edge and one data center, or multi-tier setup where some data gets further to the core, more or less, and gets reduced by multiple hops, or is it only one step?
Very good question. If I really exactly would know it, I may not be here today, but the big cloud player already have, I don't know, 70 plus region established. Like in every country, there is a data set already. So I don't think it's really necessary to do another step between. I think it's 2-layer, but
yeah, I mean, you could also use these zones as fog, so the middle step, because your application also needs to be aware of running in different zones, right?
Possibly, yes. I don't know. Most of companies have one headquarter, and that's their main region. They have another region for disaster recovery or something. They have edge computing around to collect their data and analyze things, but I think it will be one centralized point where you have the magic happen, like AI or something.
Not so sure. I'm not in the telco business for 6 years now, but there are more data centers also for the internet connections. So it's not just that everything goes to Vienna into the main ones. So normally you have some regional ones, at least for the outbreak, to the big internet connections. So together with some other layers, what I learned from Nokia and Ericsson is that they planned at least 3. But if they really happen to sell that, I don't know.
Interesting point.
For me, I mean, it's like really, I think what we are doing right now is to talk about potential solution designs for some problems, right? So I think there will be problems for both of the solutions that you just said, right? And I mean, I'm from consulting, I always say it depends, right? But but in this case, I would really say it depends. I just think that infrastructure also on the edge needs to be more manageable, because we will have more and more and more of it, right? If you think about different industry sectors like production industry, they are just at the start, right? If you're taking a look, like in Graz, they built a smart fabric with TU Graz, right, where you can see what they are doing with IoT devices and what is possible, and they are right at the start, right? So we will have a lot of infrastructure that needs to get managed over the next years. I do not know how, but I think we need a solution for it, right? So I can just repeat what you said. If I would have the solution, I probably would not sit here, right? I would do something else.
So you said we were talking about solutions. That's exactly the point. I think we need to come together, discuss, and find the common problems. Because what Kubernetes did, which kind of kickstarted this cloud native landscape, it solved a very common problem. And we need to find those common problems and then the whole industry comes together and builds a common solution that everybody can get behind. again, looking at front-end frameworks, they now all try to tackle state management, and it feels like they're all becoming very similar. Like Angular has signals which look a lot like React state, and it's also like they all figured out, oh, we have a problem, everybody tried to fix it, then they kind of cheat from each other. And at some point, a good solution emerges. I'm not sure the front-end frameworks will consolidate again, but I'm interested in what do you think would be a thing we will consolidate? Like, there are so many solutions for service meshes. Will there be something that gets mainlined to get rid of 5 other solutions? You said your customers are, or you advise your customers to only take like upstream Kubernetes, not any, did I get this right, not any extensions to it, or stay vanilla?
Well, extensions are fine, as long as they stay portable. So I try to have my customers not vendor locked in. So best example with OpenShift, for example, you can use a Kubernetes ingress resource, or you can use an OpenShift route. And if you use the OpenShift route, you need to deploy into OpenShift because the route is non-existent on a normal Kubernetes cluster. If you use the ingress, you can just take your deployment and deploy it on a normal Kubernetes cluster, and it would also work. So that's what I suggest to my customers. And the other thing is, if you're running at the hyperscaler, you can use the managed SQL service, which can be interesting, can get quite pricey, but that's another topic. Or you can use your Postgres operator, Cloud Native PG or whatever operator, to use that for having SQL as a service, more or less. And then you can also deploy this stuff on whatever hyperscaler or on-prem, whatever you want. And that's the thing where I think it's important to stay away from the vendor lock-in if it's feasible. Like, there is use cases where you need a special feature set, and it would be way expensive to maintain it on your own or with an operator, and then you just take what is offered and pay later maybe if you need to get out of the vendor lock. But in the end, it's just like, if you want the flexibility, it can be more pricey in time and people you need to put at it. And depending on the scale, it may be more expensive than the software as a service solution. Sorry, a bit of Denglish here. Yeah.
Maybe I recently also had this, maybe I read it somewhere. So the easy solutions sometimes are those that come with a lot of opinions behind it, and that's why they are super easy, because they have their way of how you do stuff. If you want to stay flexible, you reach for unopinionated tools, but they have the price that you need to come up with your own opinions. But there are some things that we can quite or very much agree on, and these are the tools I'm looking for, like Kubernetes. We all needed to have some orchestration solution. We kind of agreed on this, on the architecture of it, and we saw that it's very extensible. I'm wondering what are the next things we find an agreement on. It's not a democracy, but at some point, again, it is, because there is only so much developer power on the world that can flow into open source projects. And it will kind of naturally vote for the best solutions, or the things we can agree on.
You want to answer on that?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Marcus. Yeah, I see it in a similar way. And also, like, if you look back to the beginning, you build it, you run it. I think with the whole development and all the same problems, like every company tries to solve as well. So I think in the end it will be with like augmented and help from AI that like all these things kind of get similar. Either way, like you see in music, it's like, a popular song, a lot of AI write song, in the end, every song sounds kind of similar. So there's no kind of really value in the company selling that, so the solution has to come from somewhere else. So, and with that, I think we'll see where the whole development goes to what the next problems are that we need to solve on that.
So I think there's like a good example, like in the beginning there was that this whole storage topic with Kubernetes was a bit hard. I mean, storage in Kubernetes, persistent storage in Kubernetes is still kind of hard, but it's way easier now with all the CSI options that are out there, and they are way better integrated. And I think we need something similar for operators. I mean, there is the operator SDK, and that does a great job in that direction, but I think that we need something like that more integrated into the Kubernetes ecosystem. That's one thing where I think there is like options that could benefit us. And the second thing is all the CD, like there's GitOps, like the big nice word GitOps, and there's some big players with Flux and Argo CD, and there's a lot of other things you can use. And I think that maybe also needs to get closer with the Kubernetes project, because there's also a lot of problems with those tools if you have version differences, and then sometimes interesting things happen. So I think that's also something we need to get better on. And yeah, so I think that's the topics.
Nice. It's already 7, so I would suggest we wrap up the fishbowl. We do wrap up. Thanks a lot, Andreas. Thanks a lot, Markus, and all the others that participated. And I want to bring in one more topic. Bernd, can we go up? I remove the seat, and one more topic. And let's wrap it up with that. We started with organizational topics, at least a bit. But we didn't really talk about that. So I'd be interested in your takes. Organizational, what needs to change in the next 10 years? What is your opinion are the main pain points on an organizational level that need to be tackled in the next 10 years?
Okay, I had 50 answers on mind.
Perfect. I mean,
to think about
we have 5 minutes.
What is the most appropriate one? Okay, if we go like really on bare organizational level, then what you see nowadays is that you have a lot of skill drain in the companies. You know, you have a big technology spread and a big skill drain, because you have people who have been with companies like 20, 30 years, have built up massive business knowledge, right? And a lot of the knowledge of the code is in their head. Yeah? And I am a little bit afraid that we are doing similar things now. We are building maybe the new monolith, which is the platform, the infrastructure platform, where we have a lot of knowledge in the heads of the people, and we should know better that we should not do it, because now we see the problems. People are retiring, they cannot hand over the knowledge, right, and people leaving companies and so on. So I think with that huge amount of information and that progress that we make, it will be super hard to distribute knowledge to avoid the risk of like people are going, people losing, and so on, and to keep it operable like that. So I think that's maybe the first thing that really came to mind when I thought, what's the biggest problem of organizational level? I would say this is a tough one, right? Again, I don't have the solution, but I have the problem at least to offer.
Thanks. Bernd?
Yeah, very good question. I also don't have the solution or answer for it. Maybe work-life balance could become better if we're really following all these best practices and using AI efficiently. But who knows?
I think it also depends on what your company is doing. So if you're building software, it's different than if you just use Kubernetes to run software that you buy from somebody else. Yeah. If we stay with like building software yourself, I think it's really important to enable the teams, like the developer teams, because that's also something I see at all of my customers. actually, that there is developers that are developing for 20 years and they have no clue about Kubernetes and they don't want to care about running stuff. And you need to like take them by the hand and show them why they want to go into this new way of DevOps, which is more of a cultural thing. And I think that's something that for now is always just cost to the company and the value is not seen. Also for the platform team in a lot of companies, the platform is just costing money and nobody sees like in the numbers there is no gain from these companies, no revenue from these business units. And I think the companies need to notice the value that's provided by a platform team, which makes your developers more efficient.
Sorry, just one comment on that, because it's like a topic very close to my heart, to be honest. Because I think, I mean, when do you see the value of a platform team? Do you see you see it if you can make an impact with the platform that you provide to the streamlined teams as team topologies, or to the teams which are really delivering value to the customer? So actually for you as a platform team, it's super hard to actually show this value. I think you need to leverage also the streamlined teams and enable them to show the value, right? And it's super hard to show it in the numbers. Of course, you can use DORA metrics or whatever to see that you're more stable, you have a better lead time and so on. But at the end of the day, I think you have to find your sweet spots, which kind of impact on the business side you really achieved, by leveraging a platform to really promote this stuff. So I think it needs really collaboration between platform teams, streamlined teams to really show the value, right? Because you're not releasing stuff to production for the end customer if you're not Dynatrace that is building a technical product, right, or a platform basically. So that's my thoughts.
Thanks. Anyone wants to add something? No? So I say we wrap it up. Thanks a lot for having you. Thanks for your time. Thanks for coming. Thanks to everyone. And let's see each other in different roles. Next time, this Cloud Native Computing Vienna will be handed over to the Cloud Native, what's it called? Foundation? No, not Foundation. Cloud Native Austria, thank you. To Cloud Native Austria. And yeah, I'm happy to have found something like that, because I think it's important that it stays as non-commercial as possible, and that it's people who are thinking about those things are able to discuss and share ideas. Of course, I'm super glad to have this. By the way, great organization. You're also doing the Kubernetes Container Days. Container Days.
Kubernetes Community Days. Yeah.
But they changed this, right?
Yeah, it will change to Cloud Native Days.
Okay. But who's been there? I think many of you have been there, right? It has been the second time, right? So
400 something people.
Perfect, nice. So definitely the best place to hand this over to. So thanks a lot, Eric, as well, and everyone who's organized there. And have a good night. See you.
For the last 8 years doing that.
Thank you, Malte.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.